Yo, it's Dan DeFi, and I'm back with another video. Look, guys, it's been a minute, so we're just gonna get into it. Today we're gonna talk a lot about decentralized identity, how it's related to Hedera. We're gonna talk about Web3 development. We're just gonna talk about a whole bunch of different things, so let's get into it. Alright, so we are here. So first of all, if you guys look, decentralized identity isn't a new topic, all right? And I'm gonna see there's a lot of content creators who've talked about decentralized identity, but we're going to talk about it in a different kind of way and how it can kind of interact with this new kind of future society, that this digital age of society we're kind of going into, all right? So we're just going to get into that, but if you guys didn't know, Vitalik Buterin, sorry if I butchered your name, brother, the founder of Ethereum, you guys know what Ethereum is. He talks about these soul-bound tokens, right? And talks about ETH's future, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot more than that, okay? They actually wrote a whole paper about Web3 and, a whole bunch of stuff, guys. Decentralized identity, how it works with Web3. Actually, let's go to the top of the paper. It's Decentralized Society, Finding Web3 Soul. That's what it's about. It's about the idea, right? But we're going to talk about a couple different things and how this all correlates, right? The next thing I want to talk about right now, before we get into the whole paper, because I've read 17 pages of it, I'm really thinking about the future right now and kind of how this all correlates. But check this out. So, decentralized identity. If you guys see who wrote this, it's Solo. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't want to butcher this dude. He's part of Hedera, part of Hedera's ecosystem. So I don't even want to try to pronounce. But he wrote this article. He's part of Galaxy App. As we know, Galaxy App. The other founder is Cooper Kunz, or Coons, or how. I'm just probably butchering everybody's name today, guys. I'm so sorry. But yeah, he's part of the Hedera. Used to be part of the Hedera team as well, but he's now part of Galaxy App, and we know what Galaxy App is. It's the partnership with the NBA star Spencer Dwindle. So pretty cool stuff. I hope I'm pronouncing all these people's names right. I really do apologize if I took a shit on your name. But anyways, decentralized identity, cultivating a tokenized future. Decentralized identity is an emerging ideology that suggests identity should be an asset, only held by the individual it represents. So if you go down, opinions are expressed by the author. So it talks about kind of NFTs, guys, and how like NFTs work, right? The claims of NFT value to be appear to be growing. Behind the frenzied gang of digital token evangelists. So we're going to get into it. NFTs, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so people have been stealing NFTs. We know that there's a lot of scam stuff going on. We talked about this in the last video. Hedera actually built a new platform to help you with that issue. So yeah, check out my last video. But we're going to keep rolling here. So yeah, we know that there's a lot of issues with NFTs being stolen. So decentralized identity is an emergent ideology that suggests identity should be an asset, only be held by an individual who represents. In other words, one's identity should be solely being in the custody of that person, not a third-party intermediary. In line with this concept, VCs are simply the various pieces of information that, in aggregate, make up a tokenized version of one's identity. These credentials are stored in a wallet that isn't dissimilar to a traditional leather wallet a person would keep in their pocket. Only that it is digital and not physical. So if you think about it, guys, I mean, even our IDs, right? Do we own our IDs, or do the states we live in, if you're in the United States, or countries you live in, if you're outside the United States, do they own our IDs, right? Do we own our own identity, or do they? Like, it's really a paradigm you got to think about. So we keep going on. It talks about today, how, IDs are used, blah, blah, blah. Through this framework, individuals can release aspects of their identity and personal information at their discretion on request, a far cry from Web2's model of platform ownership, which means that Like when you go on Facebook, Facebook owns everything, right? Nothing is yours. Even your pictures are owned by them as soon as they're on the platform. So, we're going to keep rolling. The big picture. First, I need to drink real quick. Alright. While there are endless decentralized identity standards could improve the quality of our lives, one specific use case is a thriving industry currently operating at the frontier of Web3, the creator economy. With a community of 50 million strong, the creator economy is charting a new path for alternative revenue streams to the traditional 9-to-5. So, yeah, so this talks about like concepts like creating a community tokens as avenues for monetization. So if you read the rest of this paper, it's in Rolling Stone, guys. It really talks about this whole idea of a digital identity. And we're going to jump right into that because that's kind of what Violet Buterin, God, dude, this video is going to go down in history for butchering the Ethereum founder's name as many times as I can. But his paper literally is about digital identity and stuff we got to think about, right? So, to save you guys from like reading through the whole paper, I'm just going to kind of summarize the key points of what I've read so far and kind of my thoughts on this. So, 1 second here. I'm just gotta move this. So, decentralized society is one term that you see here, and it goes on, and in the first couple paragraphs, it kind of talks about that, right? And what decentralized society, DSOC, is going to look like. Furthermore, the lack of a native Web3 identity makes today's DeFi ecosystem unable to support activities ubiquitous in the real economy, such as under-collateralized lending or simple contracts like an apartment lease. So, as you know, because there's no real identity, there's just like wallet and address information tied to different transactions in this space, guys, that you can't really do contracts of that sort because there's no identity tied to it. So what he's talking about here is basically a third kind of token, okay? And we're going to get into that and what this means. So basically they're calling these tokens soul-bound tokens, okay? SBTs. So that's what the Ethereum turned from. And we're going to continue on this route of talking about what this means. So basically they're saying that a soul-bound token can represent a commitment, a credential, or an alienation. Okay, so I have a tiny brain, so guys, I only read a certain amount of this paper, so we're going to keep rolling. We're going to keep talking about these key terms. So that, now just remember, that's what this token can represent. So an easy thing to think about would be like if you're part of like, you know, you're old and part of the Veterans Club or the VFW, or you're part of the YMCA, or even your local gym. That authority could basically author an NFT, but it's not really an NFT at this point. It's called an SBT. And what that represents is the contract between you and the business. And all of the transactional information could be based into this token and put into your wallet. And that allows a lot of different things. So, I mean, you could be allowed into the door of your local gym based on if you're holding this token or not in your, digital wallet that holds your identity, yada, yada. We could go on. So, okay, so what they're talking about is, okay, so one key primitive is accounts or wallets that hold publicly visible, non-transferable, but possibly revocable by issuer tokens. So basically, what they're saying is, once you have one of these, they're non-transferable between people. So an SBT, once you have one, this type of token you cannot transfer between another person, right? Only the issuer would be able to revoke it or take it out of the wallet. So in this paper, they go on and say basically they refer to accounts as souls. Like the soul is the holder of the SBT. Okay, and I hope I'm not losing you guys, but basically what we're getting to here is that everything can be tied to this SBT, right? This is a social identity token, basically based on, all sorts of things. Basically, it could authorize you getting in and out of certain doors. It could authorize you getting into concerts. It could authorize all sorts of data, right? And then you are the owner of that data. So then you're the only one that can make that data available between platforms, between businesses, between traveling, all sorts of stuff, right? But the whole thing is that the token is just a representation, right, of what we already have. This is kind of like a representation. So you really got to think about this, guys. So basically, in theory, let's say people traveling from one area to another, they could be issued migratory SBTs as they are traveling through an area to get to another area. This is how digital identities could work. And there's like I'm gonna have to read more of this paper, but I just wanted to give you like the basics of what we're talking about here in this paper specifically, and we're gonna connect the dots right now between kind of the Hedera ecosystem and what's going on over there. So basically, let's just get into that. So I don't know if you know, but Hedera has very strict ABFTs, which makes it extremely tolerant to attack. And basically, this company, EarthID, is here to help us with the decentralized identity thing. But this is built on Hedera, right? So all the Ethereum stuff we just talked about, just keep those concepts in your head as we talk about EarthID and kind of what they're doing here. So EarthID is looking to solve this. Users own and will always be in control of who can access their identity data. Organizations across the world will be able to use EarthID for verification purposes. Personal identity data is able to meet current global regulatory standards. So if you didn't know, the EU has a thing, guys. It's called GDPR. It's basically, we can let this guy explain it right here.
What it's all about is it's the General Data Protection Regulation that the EC, part of the European Commission and the EU, put in place that'll go active on May 25th.
So it's a protection that's in place for the EU and basically protects some of their data. And it's stuff that we don't, America's different about. Right, I think we're still here arguing in America about data. So, let's see. I wanted to show you the EarthID stuff. So I was checking this out already. So it's basically identity management built on Hedera, right? And you see, they have this KYS platform now. KYS is not a new term. It's out there in the crypto area, and this always refers to identity, right? So I'm not going to go on and define what KYS is and all that stuff. But this right here, this company is looking to use, they're looking to create a global ID, basically, and for different things, right? I think that they have different solutions. I mean, as you can see here, they have AI, ML, behavioral biometrics, distributed ledger, face-based, liveness detection, interesting, palm-based, passwordless, and zero-proof knowledge. So they have a lot of different products, guys. EarthID. I think that this is a really interesting concept, especially if we talk about Hedera and identity, which I'm going to just get into that now. So we go to use cases, identity. So this talks about right here, credentials capture identity attributes and qualifications, so determine authorization of software and systems. So as we're talking about Hedera already has this built in, right? This whole idea that Ethereum's thinking about with SBTs. Hedera, you can basically create a mini hash graph that is privatized, and you can permission that to allow certain data to flow out to the bigger mama hash graph if you wanted to. So that kind of permission is already allowable in Hedera, and so let's keep talking about this. So Scale IoT talks about using HCS. Basically, so HCS is the Hedera consensus service. We know that. This talks about using HCS to basically identify the key holder. Sorry, I got a little itch on my leg. And yeah, so if we go through, so basically you could use your digital identity, your decentralized identity to do a lot of different things. Verifying new hires' credentials and issuing prescriptions is a long and typically manual process. With the signed credentials from the certifying body, this overhead can be drastically reduced. IT systems are in a state of constant flux, as can be the workforce that maintains them. Workforce access to software in workplaces can be better, more transparently controllable, and governed with credentials enabling authorizations. So, if the token inside from your workplace, inside your wallet, gets revoked because you lose your job, they're basically saying, we can disallow you from the systems. And this is what we're talking about here, guys. We're talking about smart cities, right? Cities that can be run based on every tokenomics and identity together. That is what DSOC and what, coming back to the whole Ethereum paper, DSOC is really talking about. Decentralized society is where everything runs as one. The economies, and the identity, and the how the city works. And it talks about that more in the paper. You really got to, I'm telling you really got to read that. I still got I don't know, some on more pages to talk about. So, I do want to talk about one other thing really quick about this whole idea of decentralized identity. Other tokens and projects have been working on this. One specifically I know of is Proton. We can go into their paper, written on August 5th, 2021, and we can talk about that because we see Hedera's got this model already kind of in play, and so do other projects. But when it comes to expansiveness, right? Hedera's about to be open source. Hedera has the infrastructure ready to power a decentralized city. I mean, you could put, like I've said before, all city services could run off Hedera's technology. So, but let's check out Proton and their ideologies and what they talk about with it. So, with decentralized identity. So, the Proton blockchain was designed to be compliant with future regulations, especially those that pertain to identity verification for on-chain financial transactions. In much of the way that banks, wire transfer companies, and most other financial institutions are required to verify the identity of fiat currency senders and receivers, we fully anticipate that cryptocurrency companies will soon be required to do the same. So they know that with regulation that this whole identity thing is going to come about, right? So we see the future of what is and understand what is coming. However, we don't want to sit passively by and let new regulations be created solely by people who don't understand cryptocurrency the way that we do, obviously. For this reason, we are making strides to not only comply with what we anticipate will be future regulations, but to set the industry standard ahead of time and guide other projects towards it. Regulations are coming. Marshall Hayner spoke about this several months ago in an op-ed published by The Hill, where he outlined the moves by FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, to tighten identity verification around crypto in an expected change for this industry. KYC standards ensure funds are not being sent to scammers, terrorists, human traffickers, and other criminals. So that's another way that SBTs could become a thing, guys. So by using the Proton blockchain, the opportunity for identity theft is drastically decreased while known bad parties can be cut out of the financial system. So it talks about it. Think of how you make everyday transactions using legacy financial systems. You provide every seller with your name, financial account information, address, and more. This is a lot of information to provide to a random merchant and represents a significant security and privacy risk to the user in form of data breach, identity theft, and reuse or resale of their personal information. So basically, they've already built a platform that you can verify your wallet and stuff with KYC and your password and stuff into Proton, and that's how they're working on it. The Proton identity is designed to put a digitally assertable and verified human identity into the hands of the person it belongs to. It talks about all the ideology on this, guys. I just want to say, I really like, besides Hedera, I think Proton's a really good project. And that's why I wanted to hint that other projects are thinking about this in the forefront of what they're doing as well. So, you know, I really think that as we move towards this more digital society, this is going to become, you know, more of a thing. But this talks about right here, why Hedera, and, you know, going back to the Hedera thing with decentralized identity and what we were talking about with identity in general and how technology on Hedera can enable this. Why Hedera talks about that. Manage decentralized identity first on Hedera. Credentials capture identity attributes, skills, and qualifications, and so determine authorization of software and systems. So you can get up close. Trusted and private identity credentials. So let's talk about this. Look, they have all sorts of stuff on identity management. Look, so here's a whole podcast just about the gossip protocol, apparently. And oh, look at this. Decentralized identity. Identity is a fundamental to how we interact. Blah blah blah. Talks about that. We know. Relying parties must be confident that a credential testing to some attribute, whether it is over the age of 18 or being a legally valid driver, was issued by an appropriate authority, hasn't been compromised, nor has it been revoked. W3C is to standardize a model for identity and credentials that can leverage distributed ledgers like Hedera, W3C, like Hedera Hashgraph to provide trusted discovery and lookup services. Then what's going on? Let's talk about HCS and how HCS technology can be used to verify this information. How it works. When a party issues a credential to an individual, the fact that the issuance is recorded using Hedera Consensus Service. Similarly, each event in the credential's lifecycle can also be recorded. When the user presents a credential to an application or business, supporting information can be retrieved to support validation or lookup of related identity information. Here, this is how it goes, guys. Credential assigns a set of identity attributes for user and gives to user for storage. Metadata for credential recorded via an HCS message. User presents credential as part of the authentication process of some application or resource. Relying party retrieves timestamped metadata in order to validate a credential. While necessary, issuer can revoke the credential via HCS message. The next time the credential is put in, authentication fails if it gets revoked. A trusted feature: credential issuance is recorded via HCS, and that metadata persists onto the computers of a business network. Subsequent events are also recorded. Guys, this really just goes into the whole deal of how Hedera already... I mean, look, this is dated July 2020, right? They were he's talking about this now, and Hedera was way ahead of that. So, I just want to say, you know, we're here. I've said Hedera is the future, and I'm going to continue to point out that, I mean, look at this, guys. You can see the dates. You can see the thought process here. Hedera was built for shared worlds. What do you think that entails? You don't think identity was part of that? I mean, look at this. Worlds. I mean, come on, guys. it's all pointing here. We're getting the messages. Woo, woo, the messages are coming down to our brains, right? We're understanding what's happening here, right? And with the state of the U.S. and how things are going, I mean, God, crime's up. Everything's just a shit sandwich. So, I mean, this thinking about this and what the good side of this maybe, what digital identity could provide is very interesting. And I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, I think there's some negative effects that you could point out. That would have to be very vetted. But guys, this is the future. And yeah, I'm glad I was able to go over this with you. Thanks for checking out this video. If you made it through the video, put nachos in the comment. Write nachos in the comments. Let me know that you got through the whole video. I really appreciate that, guys. And thanks for checking out the channel. Dan DeFi out.